firm is a labor and employment law firm. We provide full-service labor relations and employment law advice for employers. And really key to our practice is, in terms of servicing employment needs, what we have really learned over the years is that a lot of the employment law disputes or issues that employers face really come from a lack of engagement or poor engagement strategies within the workplace. And in launching our firm, the one thing that's been the key focus and really part of our vision is making sure that we hire individuals that that really fit the model and understand the culture and vision in terms of where we're going. In terms of strategies, one thing that's been in sharp focus is make sure we hire the right people and not hiring out of desperation, ensuring that they understand the firm, they understand the philosophy, and they understand the key and important aspects of our service proposition, and we just make sure we get that right. Well, in terms of the employees that we hire, as I mentioned, one of the key things is making sure that we make the right hire, because a lot of times employers fail in terms of engaging their workforce because they have not been strategic in identifying specifically what they're hiring to. So oftentimes they just need a body, and they don't think about the role. They don't think about making sure they have the individual that has the right competencies. So in terms of our focus is we really truly focus on making sure that the individuals that we hire on, that they understand the role that they have to fulfill, they understand again the culture, and also we really focus on fulfillment. At the end of the day, a lot of times employees are looking for certain things out of an employment experience, and employers are so focused on what they need as opposed to what the employee is looking to get out of the experience. And by virtue of not making sure that these two things line up, you can have a mismatch. So it's focusing on all of the aspects of ensuring that the employment relationship is fulfilling, because by virtue of doing that, you end up with a productive and engaged environment. I think one of the key things, and it sounds really trite and fundamental, is really creating a kind of culture and an environment where people feel that they can work to their fullest potential. And that starts with making sure you hire the right people for that, because we're a smaller firm, very stealth, but smaller. And that means that, and in terms of my leadership style, I don't have any interest in micromanaging individuals. I want them to understand what the end product needs to be in terms of our client service, and allowing them to go about it in their own style. And I think that, you know, when you allow people to work within their own style and competencies, and they're given an opportunity to show you what they know and to do their best and be their best, that goes a long way to achieving engagement in the workplace. The advice I'd give a smaller company is, first of all, you don't want to hire out of desperation, and really do a lot of front-end thinking in terms of what you need. So look at the role, make sure the role is well defined, because oftentimes what you find is employees aren't they're not passing muster, they're not fulfilling the employer's needs because the needs aren't well defined. So before you even get to the people, you have to think about the role and what's required. So once that is in place, then the employer should make sure that the candidate that they're screening, or whoever makes the shortlist, that they do have the key competencies before an employment offer is extended. Another key thing that a lot of employers face is they hire individuals to manage employees that don't have people management skills or acumen. And that's a huge problem for a lot of employers, because as the saying goes, employees leave managers, they often don't leave companies. So making sure that you have the right managers in place, and that those managers are trained with respect to how to manage people and how to employ engagement strategies to ensure that the employees are fulfilled in their work and productive. So for example, a lot of employers, when they hire employees, they don't make the expectations clear. And one of the key things in making expectations clear is as simple as an employment agreement, because that sets out the mutual entitlements, obligations, rules, and just general expectations of the workplace. And a lot of employers, they miss that opportunity because they think agreement sounds too legal, it's too formal, and the offer may not be as attractive. Actually, you're doing the employee a favor because you're giving them at least a set of expectations, and so they know whether or not they're meeting the mark or missing it. Another thing when employees are performing their roles is to have a good set of policies. And again, a lot of times employers don't want to implement policies because they think, oh, we don't want to be too formal, we don't want to be too regimented. Again, you're doing employees a great service when you have those systems in place because expectations are set. And it gives the employer an opportunity, not in a punitive way, but in a benchmarking way to say, you know what, these expectations are in place, you're exceeding them, that's great, or you need to shore up in this area. Added to that is a job description. And a lot of employers, there is some caution there. You want to make sure that the job description isn't an exhaustive list, because employers need to be, particularly smaller employers, they need the flexibility and they want to be stealth and they want to have some discretion. But again, it sets out the guidelines and guideposts for individuals to at least ensure that they're operating within those guidelines and that they're meeting expectations. Another key thing that employers often don't do, or at least don't do consistently, is performance appraisals. And in my view, it's a key lost opportunity, because performance appraisals, and the more important performance appraisals is just the feedback, the informal feedback that should be given very frequently. And with respect to the official formal appraisal, it's important, but the ongoing feedback and the good feedback is really important, because to incent people for employees to feel engaged, most of us are wired that we like to hear when we're doing a job well done, right? And one of the worst strategies that actually thwarts engagement and causes disengagement and disgruntled employees is when you're only focusing on what's going wrong. So I always like to say that, be solution focused, not problem focused when dealing with staff, because that really does bring the best out of people. Some of the key challenges that a lot of small organizations have around employee engagement is not feeling that they have a fair opportunity to actually strategize hiring and recruitment. And that translates into a failure to pay proper attention to who they need. So with a lot of smaller organizations, particularly organizations that may be entrepreneurial and they experience quick growth, they end up hiring from desperation, and there are a lot of poor hires. And what happens when you bring on individuals that are ill-suited to the role is sometimes they, even not intentionally, they may, because they feel that they're underperforming, they may actually have a negative impact on morale. So again, one thing that a lot of smaller organizations do is they don't pay adequate attention to recruiting and making sure that they're hiring the right people. As well, a lot of growing organizations hire or promote managers that are ill-suited to managerial positions that involve managing people. And that's another key thing that a lot of organizations face, because it's the managers that, with a front-line responsibility of dealing with people, that if they don't do it right, they can cause significant disengagement that ruptures workplace morale. It's the due diligence in the front end. I mean, it's really making sure that the right hire is really key. And the right hire in terms of the level of management. So if you need somebody, in a lot of smaller organizations do need individuals that can work fairly autonomously. Not everyone can do that. It's not that they're not capable, but even some individuals, they like to get consistent feedback. You may not have the bandwidth in a smaller organization to do that. So you've got to make sure you have the employees with the right skills and capabilities to operate within the role in the manner that you need them to. That's very key. But even on an ongoing basis, it's making sure that you set up the in writing, as well as you reinforce orally the expectations in the workplace. And that's another key thing that often is missed by a number of employers. And smaller employers, they don't necessarily by virtue of maybe time, not having the resources, they don't make the investment at the front end to make sure that those employment systems, as I call them, and those that being your written employment agreements, your policies, your job descriptions, they just don't put the time in because they feel they don't have it, and they don't appreciate the aggravation and cost that they're going to avoid by doing so at the front end. It's really important to make the front end investment and in anything that you're doing related to the workplace, and be intentional. And I use that word a lot because a lot of workplaces, large and small, are very reactive rather than proactive. So it's a matter of taking the time to think about, okay, what really are our needs? And then think about the type of individuals, the people that are required to fulfill those needs. And also finding out from those people whether or not the needs are aligned, so what they want to get from the employment experience, and also what the employer needs in terms of fulfilling the corporate or small business objectives. Oftentimes we don't think about from a business standpoint. We're so focused on revenue, profitability, you don't realize that people are your engine. And so at the end of the day, and this goes for most business models, that there's not adequate focus on making sure that the people, that your employees are taken care of, and that they're well selected, and that they are given adequate and proper and consistent feedback to make sure that those revenue and bottom line objectives are met. The advice I'd give someone seeking to get a job with our company is I would advise them to really communicate to us what they're looking to get out of the experience. In the way that we conduct our interviews here is we spend a fair amount of time talking about the firm vision, and we're a growing organization, and so it's really important for them to understand where we're going, not only where we are. And it's very important for me to hear when I'm doing an interview whether or not they see that as something that will float their boat in the short term or in the long term. Because for me, I'm doing as much an assessment of them as they should be doing of our firm. Another key thing that we do is we make sure that everybody in our firm at this point gets a chance to either eyeball or have some interaction with the individual, because it's really important for our engaged team to feel that they've got some buy-in, or at least a voice in who's going to be joining the team. Because it goes back to the word that I've said a couple times, it's a team. So that doesn't mean that all staff here have the ultimate decision, but I do want to hear from them with respect to how they feel this individual will fit, because it's been critical, and I think it's been critical to our success in terms of having an engaged team in our